We talked earlier about the Israeli concoction of anti-Semitism, how anti-Semitism often is uh, either faked or exploited in order to advance Israeli objectives and to justify Israel's existence as a supposed sanctuary for the Jewish people. There's a fascinating investigation taking place in Australia, and I think it will soon turn into some kind of cover-up. I tweeted about this a few days ago. Australian police are investigating whether, quote, overseas actors or individuals are paying local criminals to carry out anti-Semitic crimes in the country. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says anti-Semitic attacks are being, this is his words, perpetrated by people who don't have a particular issue, aren't motivated by an ideology, but are paid actors. He added, quote, it's unclear who or where the payments are coming from. The shadow Home Office minister from the opposition party wonders if, quote, a foreign government is engaging in state-sponsored terror. Here's the BBC. Anti-Semitic crimes may be funded overseas, say Australian police. It's been reported, backpaged, but reported in British media and Australian media. And in Australia, the fingers were initially pointed at Iran and Russia, of course. And then once there was no evidence that Iran or Russia were behind this, they stopped pointing fingers, because who would do something like this? Which country would, I don't know, fake anti-Semitism? Well, it reminded me of something that happened at the dawn of the first Trump administration. There were thousands of phone calls and bomb threats to Jewish American institutions like community centers, synagogues. And it turned out, after this whole freak out where the Senate was putting pressure on Trump to condemn this and claiming that because of Trump, there's a rise in anti-Semitism and Jews are in peril because of Trump. You know, this is the New York Times. Threats and vandalism leave American Jews on edge in the Trump era. It turned out that it was an Israeli teen who is a US dual citizen in Israel who was making those bomb threats. Very strange. And Israel tried to actually suppress the identity of that teen. An Israeli-American teenager was found guilty in Israel on Thursday of making about 2,000 hoax bomb threats against Jewish and other institutions in the US during Donald Trump's rise to the US presidency. The incident stoked allegations by some American critics at the time that the Republican contender was encouraging anti-Semitism and other forms of racism. So yeah, it definitely served that purpose, but it was just a generalized anti-Semitic freak out over anti-Semitism. It turned out an Israeli was responsible for much of it. Also turns out that Israeli teen, whose name was Michael Kadar, was also using robocalls to target Australian institutions. 590 plus bomb threats in Australia. Schools, Jewish centers, hospitals, and airlines. This is a great section from the Guardian report on Michael Kadar. The teen, identified in U.S. court documents as Michael Kadar, despite a suppression order against revealing his identity in Israel. Why wouldn't we want to know his identity? Was arrested last month by Israeli police. And he was arrested after he wasn't found out by the Israeli police. It was due to an investigation by the Five Eyes, and I think primarily Australia. A spokeswoman for Victoria Police said Israeli police who made the arrest acknowledged that they could not have done it without us. So it was the Victoria Police e-crime squad, not Israel, that caught this teen. So what's going on here? What's going on in Australia? Who are the paid actors? Who are they being paid by? And why would this, what's the ultimate objective here? And could this be limited to Australia? Or has this been taking place in other Western countries since October 7th? Is it anti-Semitic to point a finger at the one settler colonial state that benefits from anti-Semitism, that justifies its existence on the proliferation of global anti-Semitism and which has historically exploited the plight of Jews around the world for its own benefit? I don't know. We'll keep following that investigation. I think it's always important to highlight stories that are on the public record but aren't getting adequate attention, especially as we enter a Trump era where the Republican Congress and Trump administration are going to milk the anti-Semitism freak out to actually criminalize Palestine solidarity activism in a way we have never seen before.